So why did you click on this? That's kind of the first question our source material asks, and it gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Lying.
It really does. It's everywhere.
Yeah, from those tiny little fibs we barely think about to the really big ones that can just change everything.
Exactly. And we've been looking at some really interesting research, sort of looking at it from all angles, psychology, biology.
Even culture, right.
Yeah, culture too. And the goal here isn't about judging, you know? It's more about trying to understand why. Why is this such a, basic human thing?
And we want to unpack that in a way that hopefully gives you some of those aha moments, but without it feeling like reading a dense textbook.
Right.
Okay, so let's jump in. The sources point out that at its core, sometimes lying is just about, well, protection. Survival lies, they call them.
Yeah, that primal urge, to dodge something bad, pain, blame, punishment.
Like the kid with chocolate smeared everywhere. Nope, wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly. Or, the adult version. Oh, weird, I never got that message. When it was the difficult one. It comes from that basic fear of consequences. Losing something important.
So it's about protecting our relationships, maybe our job, or just face. Saving face.
Absolutely. The truth in that specific moment feels like a bigger risk.
Okay, then there are the white lies.
Mm-hmm.
The ones we tell to, supposedly, spare someone else's feelings.
Mm-hmm. The social smoother-overs. Oh, I love your new haircut. When?
Maybe you don't.
Or pretending you're super interested in a story that's just dragging on.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. We do mental backflips, don't we? Like, wow, that's quite a choice. But the sources make you think, are we really doing it just for them?
That's the question, isn't it?
Or are we maybe just trying to avoid the awkwardness we would feel giving honest, maybe slightly negative feedback?
Right, so that little white lie, it's not always purely selfless. It can definitely be about our own comfort zone.
A shield for us, too.
Precisely. It's this sort of balancing act between trying to be kind and, well, protecting ourselves from discomfort. But you have to wonder about the long-term impact on real connection. That makes sense. Okay, then there's the next level, maybe. Lying for personal gain.
Strategic lies, yeah.
Like, puffing up your resume a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe on a date, painting a slightly better picture of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Trying to impress, to get ahead. You see it in conversations, too, maybe exaggerating an accomplishment.
And our sources link this back to feelings of, well, not being enough.
Often, yeah. That sense of inadequacy, it's like the lie is a shortcut to seeming more impressive, more like the person we think we should be.
Driven by that fear that the real us won't cut it, right?
Exactly. Fear of rejection if the unvarnished truth came out.
But then there's this other layer the sources get into, which I find really fascinating. Lying to ourselves.
Self-deception.
Yes.
When we say, I'm fine, but we're obviously falling apart. Or, oh, I don't care about that, when actually we really, really do, pretending we're over something.
It's a powerful defense mechanism. And what's interesting is how much easier it can feel sometimes, creating that false story in our head instead of facing the actual, maybe messy truth. Yeah, it's like building a wall to avoid difficult feelings or having to really look at ourselves.
It's a way to sidestep the hard stuff, temporarily at least.
Even if it bites us later. Okay. So moving on slightly, the research also looks at the biology of lying, which really opened my eyes. It's not just morals, it's brain stuff.
Absolutely. Neuroscience shows it's actually quite complex. When you lie, several brain areas light up parts involved in decision-making, like the prefrontal cortex and emotion centers.
So your brain is actually working harder when you lie?
Initially, yes. It takes more cognitive load, more effort than just telling the truth.
But here's the kicker, right? The sources say the more you do it, the easier it gets. Seems the brain adapts. That feeling of guilt, that little alarm bell, it can get quieter over time. Studies even show less activity in the amygdala, the fear center, when habitual liars are dishonest.
Wow. So it becomes almost routine. That's kind of scary. It's that whole slippery slope idea, isn't it? Small fibs making bigger lies feel less significant. That desensitization seems key. If your emotional response gets dampened, it's easier to keep going, maybe even escalate. The sources definitely point to how big deceptions can grow from lots of smaller, seemingly harmless lies.
Which makes you think, what does that do to us? To our own sense of who we are?
That's a huge point the research raises. If you're constantly putting up these false fronts, does the line blur? Do you start losing touch with your actual genuine self?
Yeah, getting tangled up in your own web.
It can become hard to separate the real you from the persona you've built, sometimes even for yourself.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. culture plays a role too, right?
Mm.
The sources talk about how social rules sometimes value politeness over, like, blunt honesty.
Yes, that's a really important layer. Our individual choices about lying don't happen in a vacuum.
Mm.
In a lot of cultures, keeping things smooth, avoiding conflict, making people feel comfortable, those things are really valued.
So sometimes telling the truth might be seen as rude
Yeah.
or disruptive.
Exactly. So editing the truth or even telling a white lie can feel like the socially expected or even the right thing to do in that context.
We kind of learn to filter ourselves, don't
Yeah.
we? To perform a bit, you could say.
Hmm.
Lying for the sake of fitting in or keeping the peace.
And then you throw the digital age into the mix.
Oh boy.
Uh,
Social media.
It's like a master class in curated reality, isn't it?
Totally. It brings up what the sources call lying by omission.
Right. Where you're not necessarily saying something false, but you're only showing the highlights, the
Yeah.
perfect vacation snaps, the job promotions.
And leaving out all the boring bits, the struggles, the bad days.
Exactly. So the overall picture people get can be pretty misleading, even if every individual post is technically true.
It's like everyone's personal trailer for their own movie.
Yeah.
All the best scenes. And there's this pressure, isn't there, to keep up appearances.
Definitely. Pressure to seem happy, successful, relevant, maybe stretching things a bit to stay visible online.
But it makes you wonder, like the sources ask, if everyone is showing this filtered, perfect version, what happens to our idea of what's real? Does the actual truth still matter as much?
Well, despite all the online stuff, the everyday fibs, the research we looked at really emphasizes that truth does still matter. Deep
Yeah.
down, it talks about this weight that untruth carries.
I know what you mean. That feeling you sometimes get maybe when things are quiet,
Yeah.
when you're alone with your thoughts.
Exactly. That's when the inconsistencies, the little echoes of lies, especially the ones we tell ourselves, can kind of bubble up. That inner dissonance.
Yeah, that quiet knowing.
So when you pull it all together, what are the main reasons we lie? The sources seem to circle back to two big things: fear and hope.
Fear of what? Being seen for who we really are.
Yeah.
Judged, left out.
All of that. Fear of vulnerability, fear of consequences, and then hope.
Hope. How does hope fit in?
Well, the hope that a lie will make things easier, right? That it offers a quicker fix, a better outcome, or maybe just buys us some time.
Borrowed time.
Mm.
That's a phrase the sources use that really stuck with me.
It is powerful, isn't it? Because lies, well, they're built on shaky ground that create this fragile reality that usually doesn't last.
The truth has a way of coming out, eventually.
It tends to.
So bringing it back around, back to you listening, and that first question from our sources, why did you tune in today? Was it just general interest? Or did something about deception, about lying, kind of hit home for you personally?
Maybe listening to this has got you thinking. And if it has, well, the research is pretty clear. You're definitely not alone in this. Lying is just, it's a very human thing we all navigate.
Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, thinking about all this, engaging with it, maybe that's a first step. The source suggests the bravest thing might be starting to tell the truth more often, even if initially it's just to ourselves.
Starting with that internal honesty.
So here's a final thought we want to leave you with, something to maybe mull over after this. Think about one area in your life, big or small, doesn't matter where. Maybe you're bending the truth a little.
Just one area. And ask yourself, what might change inside you or maybe in your relationships if you decided to lean into honesty there? Starting with being honest with yourself about it, it's definitely something worth exploring.